friends, my name is Emily and welcome back to my channel. For this vlog, I'm going to be trying something a little bit different. I'm going to be trying to include some voiceover, some clips of the, I guess, behind the scenes of my life, the things that I've been working on since being laid off and finding myself free floating, I guess. You'll see me in this vlog struggle with the lack of structure. While that is still somewhat true, as I'm recording this and editing this in week 2 of April, that I have sort of found a little bit of a rhythm, a little bit of routine, and it's feeling less like free floating. Grab yourselves a cup of tea, get cozy, and join me as I reflect on this first week in April. I have made myself some lunch, so I have peanut noodles, gluten-free pasta, shredded carrot, orange pepper, green onions, chili flakes, a sauce of peanut butter, ginger, soy sauce, and sesame oil, and then I've topped it with chickpeas for extra protein. I am going to take a little break from filming and YouTube stuff. Now that I've had lunch, I am going to be spending a little bit of time at my desk. I have employment insurance to apply for. I'm gonna do my paperwork, be an adult, all of that jazz. Oh, I also have a video to post to my guinea pigs. I made enough changes to this video commentary for YouTube to not flag it. I nailed it. I nailed it. Okay. Either that or YouTube's slower than usual. Not at all what I intended to film today. Applying for unemployment is like the least intuitive process. This is probably intentional, that it is designed in a way to deter people from actually benefiting from this. It took me probably an hour of digging around the website to finally find the correct place to apply, because everything else just sort of circles you around, this thing, that thing, this thing, that thing, and the links just take, if you follow any of the links, it's just all the same repeated information, and then the links take you back to this page. Eventually, the links will take you back to this one page, and you're like, great, this is where I fucking started. So I think I finally found the actual application. Do I know how to get back here? No. Well, that was 2 hours of my life I will never get back. But I think I have successfully completed the application. My computer is still transferring the footage that I filmed this morning. Like, I literally can't go any further. I can't edit the video like I plan to do this afternoon until the footage transfers. I am going to clean up the mess that I made, because in the process of doing this employment insurance application, I tore apart everything that I've been keeping in this little file box. So I have been very organized. It's just other things started to accumulate in it. I love that I'm like, oh, adulting, employment, taxes, and then I realized I tied like half of my hair up at some point and I look like a small child of the 90s. Here we have the cream of Mr. Wayne Gretzky. Not vegan, but tasty and very Canadian. It is going in my coffee. Actually, first I need to get rid of the coffee strainer. I have Wildwood out of the library on audio as well as in physical, and I've been flipping back and forth, so I am going to listen while I enjoy my beverage.
Amid their squawks and titters, Prue could hear the words, "Make way," and "He approaches," and she craned her neck to see what the fuss was about. Below the tower, she could see that the entranceway to the mansion was alight.
Super joyful moment. Prue, our main character here, just called Nancy Drew the patron saint of sleuthing. In addition to having like strong Narnia vibes, it's also drawing on children's literature, which I love. Like, just other pieces of classic children's literature like Nancy Drew. So good, so good. That is all. Hi, hello. Currently it is afternoon. So, in an attempt to find some normalcy and routine, this morning I exercised. I've been trying to exercise more. I think since I started working at Indigo, I stopped exercising because my job is pretty physical. And the other day I watched the Try Guys, and one of them was doing like 100 push-ups challenge, and I was like, I wonder how many push-ups I can do. And the answer is 1. I can do 1 standard push-up, which is unacceptable. Like, I used to be super strong. I did yoga all the time, so many chaturangas, and then like I used to do this more intense yoga class all the time that was like specifically a workout more than relaxation. It was so many like flow sequences, and like you'd chaturanga down and then do a push-up up before you'd go through up dog and down dog. And that's besides the point. The point is, by the end of this quarantine, I want to be in better shape than I was when I started. I finished editing my March wrap-up. It took forever to transfer the footage yesterday, and I just couldn't make it happen. I did a rough cut of it last night and then had to go to bed because I was so tired. And then this morning I sort of polished it up, added in any images that needed to go in. The sun is shining, and while my video renders, I want to feel productive. So I have pulled 3 of the small books from my TBR. I will link the TBR up above. The new addition to this is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I didn't talk about this in my TBR because I didn't know we were reading it yet. My in real life, now online book club decided that we would be reading Howl's Moving Castle and Coraline and watching the film adaptations and discussing. I have 3 tiny children's books: The Ice Dragon by George R. R. Martin, Because of Winn-Dixie by Cait DeCamillo, and Coraline by Neil Gaiman. This is one of my favorite reading setups recently because of the natural light that comes through the window. Several hours have passed. It's now 6:30 in the evening. I spent the majority of my afternoon bundled up outside, reading in the sunshine, and I managed to finish 2 books before I came in to make some dinner and get a video up. I started with The Ice Dragon by George R. R. Martin. This is the story of Adara. She is a child of winter. She was born during a cold, cold winter, and her mother died in the process of giving birth to her, and she is like physically cold to the touch, emotionally distant. She can pick up like the ice lizards of the north, and they don't melt in her hands the way they melt in other kids' hands, and she develops a relationship with an ice dragon. And I don't want to say too much. It was fine. I think I would have been disappointed if I'd purchased this instead of been gifted it. It was just fine, and I didn't super love how it ended. The next book that I read was Because of Winn-Dixie by Cait DeCamillo. So this is another piece of children's literature. It's about a little girl named Opal who has a father that she thinks of as the preacher, and whose mother's an alcoholic and who has run away. She's abandoned the family, and they have just moved to a new town, and Opal doesn't have any friends except this dog Winn-Dixie ends up in her life, and through Winn-Dixie she ends up making friends with a bunch of very lonely souls in the town. She makes friends with an elderly librarian and a little girl who has lost a family member, and a reclusive, anxious pet shop owner, and the local witch, or anyways, the old woman who everyone in town thinks is a witch. And it's just beautiful, and it's heartwarming, and you can see the messaging for kids without it feeling super didactic. Like, it all feels very natural, and her realization that other people are lonely and other people have sadness within them, and her learning to be really empathetic was awesome, and I loved this. This was so good. I was hoping to tackle Coraline as well, but I think it might make more sense to finish Howl for the book club, then read Coraline for the book club. Hello, today is April 3rd, and I have to admit I'm struggling a little bit with this, like, indefiniteness of COVID. I don't want to dwell too long on it because I want these videos to be, like, watchable and not bring anyone down, but I think it's also important to acknowledge that, like, this is weird and hard. Normally I've been giving myself till like 9:30, 10 o'clock to like eat and exercise and then start on work with YouTube and stuff like that. But I think I want to get this out of the way today, get the video edited and rendering, and then like thoroughly clean my space. I feel like I've just been so like meh that like I've built myself a little nest of sadness in the other room where I was filming this morning, of just like books and lip chap and bottle caps and mugs. It's just a little nest of sadness. And I'm probably going to listen to an audiobook while I do it. I just got the audiobook for A Tale for the Time Being from the library because I looked at this and this is a chunky book. It's a chunky book. I had the audiobook on my list long before I put this on my TBR because I was just interested in it. And now I think I might alternate back and forth between the audiobook and the physical book today while I work. I know, my reading plans change all the time. So inconsistent. Howl's Moving Castle. I made maybe like 40 pages headway last night and then just felt totally unmotivated to do anything. Whole routine is off. Like I used to go to bed at 7:30, fall asleep like that, wake up at 3:30 and like got on with my day. And like it's so weird not having any rhyme or reason to my day. I haven't had this in like a very long time, since I was a student basically. I've had 4 years of working at Indigo with like a very strict bedtime and morning routine, and like that really framed and shaped my day. It feels silly to continue to go to bed at 7:30 and get up at 3:30 in the morning just to hang out at home all day and make YouTube videos. Like it seems ridiculous to keep to that schedule because it means I'm excluded from any of like the nighttime online stuff that now all of my friends are doing in isolation. I don't know. I have to figure it out. On this day in the evening, my sister and I baked a cake. And so you will see my sister and I attempt to adapt my aunt's banana cake recipe. So the original recipe is wheat flour and not vegan. And because I have to be gluten-free and baking is super finicky, like most things I can adapt to be vegan, baking is not one of those things that I have a lot of success with, because when you're making something vegan, you are taking out the things that do a lot of the binding in baking, and the substitutes work, I think, with wheat flour, because wheat flour has the gluten in it, which is a binding agent. I have never been successful at adapting a wheat recipe to be gluten-free and vegan.
Filming me?
Just your legs.
That's not nice.
Why?
Don't film me.
Well, your hands are in this shot.
You have to edit them out later. Let's put little black bars over my hands. I did not consent to the use of my hands in your video.
Last.
That's a really good shot there. I like it.
Don't mock my art. This is clearly the correct way to do this. Here, hold this.
Should maybe have a spoon.
No, this was a little bit wet when I started.
Why didn't you dry it?
Because I didn't realize it was wet.
Who's on the drying rack?
Well, I thought it was dry. Ooh, look at it! Look, it turned out nice!
Beautiful.
Okay.
Except for whatever that is over there.
It's a piece of batter. The batter came up. All right. I think it looks good. It's just pure sugar.
You made a cake!
I made a cake! Thank you for baking a cake with me.
You're welcome. I'll get you from a more flattering angle. I just realized I was holding it like this.
I think that's enough filming.
Are you sure you don't want some BTS of you doing all the dishes? I mean, I'm gonna go, but I can leave your phone here.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Good morning. It is Saturday, April 4th. Yesterday, I started reading A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ezeki, and it is gorgeous. The concept is phenomenal. So it is about an author in BC who is walking along the beach and she finds this bag of something that's washed up and she brings it home and she's a little scared to open it because feet inside shoes have been washing up on the beaches. She's a little afraid of what's in this bag, and her husband opens it, and it's a Hello Kitty lunchbox, and inside the Hello Kitty lunchbox are old letters in Japanese and a journal written in Japanese. She starts trying to investigate this journal and these letters, and like part of her thought is like this is shortly after the tsunami, and there's all this discussion of how with the tsunami a lot of things were washed out and then the ocean slowly started spitting things back up, and so I guess there was a thought that at some point things would start washing up in BC, and so they're wondering if this is like the first of that washout. And so the perspectives that we're flipping back and forth between are Now's diary, and Now is writing about her grandmother, who is a nun and a writer who is pre-internet. Her books are out of publication and she's basically been lost to history except for this diary. And Now is writing as if she is going to kill herself by the end of this journal, like she will have come to that decision. And Ruth is putting off writing a novel or writing her memoir. She's putting off writing something by just getting totally sucked into the journal and researching who this human was or is. Is she still okay? Like she has this impulse to try and save Now, if Now is still savable. It's absolutely fascinating. I am going to be doing like an online hangout with my friends in the evening. Like we are meeting up for like drinks at a bar, and we're gonna have a beverage and just sit and chat. So Saturday night, I had a panic attack that reverberated throughout the rest of the night and into the Sunday. Sunday was a really low-key day for me. I tried to keep myself really distracted. I ended up doing this horrible puzzle that has been out for months now. I think it was a Christmas gift. Nobody has wanted to touch this puzzle because it is terrible in terms of like color and texture. It's all the same. I sat there the whole day listening to music. So I did literally nothing except this puzzle. You can see this footage here of this millipede that I thought was adorable. I did scoop him up with a piece of paper and put him back outside. It is 2:15 in the afternoon. The footage that I need for today has finally finished transferring. There is another chunk of footage that is still transferring, so we're gonna see how my computer handles transferring footage and editing at the same time. If not, that other chunk of footage has 13 hours left to go, and I can't wait that long, so I may have to pause it. In the time I was waiting for the footage I need for today to transfer, I finished Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. This was a fun read. It was a weird read. There are some things in here that I'm not sure if there are clues for throughout that I missed, or if it's just one of those things like because magic, but I did enjoy it. I had a lot of fun reading this. The other thing that I did was I had a couple of pieces of drywall sitting behind my couch in the sitting room. We're not going to have them in use for a very long time. So I moved them behind a piece of furniture that they have been leaning up against. I now have the piece of furniture that I haven't been able to access for months to give a good cleaning to after I finish editing this video. So exciting, right? All right, so it is 3:20, so it took me roughly an hour to cut together this, I think it's around 12 minutes of video. It is rendering now, and I am going to put on the audiobook for A Tale for the Time Being and clean up the mess that I made. Last night I finished A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ezeki, and it was phenomenal. As it was wrapping up, I was like, oh my gosh, I can think of like 5 people in my life who need to read this book. I'm still like speechless. I'm still like, it's so good. And I feel like it showed up on so many channels. It was on my radar for a long time. I'd owned it for a while, not really knowing what it was about. And I feel like I had either forgotten or no one had mentioned just how phenomenal and I haven't finished processing it yet, but it's so good. It is so good. And at the end of the audiobook that I listened to was narrated by Ruth Ezeki, who is the author. She mentions at the end of the audiobook that there are pros and cons to consuming each format. So the physical book, there are a lot of footnotes that she couldn't do in the audio, but in the audio, she read things in the way she imagined the characters speaking them, and she sang the little Buddhist prayer chants, and she did so many things with her voice and with her narration that adds a different layer and a different experience to the story. If this was ever on your radar, if it's currently sitting on your TBR, and you, like me, picked it up because you saw it around on BookTube and you just haven't got to it, consider picking it up this April. That's it. That's it.